ADU, mother-in-law suite, whatever, however you want to call it. And I rent it out, and it basically gets me to where I'm going. It solves a problem. This is what people don't understand about real estate. Real estate's not some kind of magic golden goose. Real estate is a set of tools and techniques that you can use to solve problems in life, to reach objectives in life.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke. And today we have Ben Leybovich. Ben is a real estate investor, author, speaker, and entrepreneur who has been known for house hacking, but also a well-versed real estate investor in many different asset classes. Ben, thank you so much for joining us on the show. How you doing, my friend?
It's my pleasure, Dwaine. I think we're going to have a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're talking pre-show, getting to know each other. And like I said, we have a lot of synergies here. So we look forward to kind of diving a little bit deeper into your real estate career and be able to add some value to the listeners. But before we kind of kick things off, I understand you have a very deep background, very interesting story. I didn't want to kind of butcher it in any way. So I just going to leave that to you and kind of hand you over the mic and kind of talk about how you got started in real estate and what's your current focus.
How I got started, I got very lucky. So, most of escaping the W-2 income, as in, I don't want to work for the man. I don't want to show up. I don't want to punch the clock. You know that story, right? And I totally respect that. People leave full-blown careers.
Ben, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it froze on my side. I missed like the first 30 seconds of your intro there. So for some reason, I don't know, because I'm on wired connection. So are you on a wireless or wired?
I am on the wireless. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. It just kind of just froze and then just like the screen.
Well, let's try again.
Yeah, we'll do it one more time.
Let's try again.
All right, I'll just do it right from the top here. Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke. And today we have Ben Leybovich. Ben is a real estate investor, author, speaker, and entrepreneur who is a well-versed real estate investor and very well known for the house hacking strategy. We look forward to talking with him about that as well as his other asset classes that he invests in and kind of have a well-rounded discussion. Ben, thank you so much, my friend, for joining us on the show.
Dwaine, thank you. I think we're going to have a good time.
Look forward to it. Yeah, for people who are not familiar with your background, you very well know you've been in a lot of podcasts. You have a lot of content and educational information, a book out as well. But for those who are not familiar with you, would you mind kind of diving a little bit deeper in how you got started in real estate?
Well, I'd like to know who those people are. Because how the hell can you be alive in 2019 and not know who Ben Leybovich is with anything to do with real estate? No, I own about $50 million of real estate. I syndicate large apartment complexes. I'm now in Phoenix. I started small. I started with single family, small multifamily, mid-sized kind of stuff, and moved on from there. As far as house hacking is concerned, yes, I did that too. I wrote a book about it. I thought it was still do think it's a brilliant idea for a lot of people, and I still live in my house hack. As far as how I backed into real estate, when I was in college, I'm a professionally trained violinist, and I was in college at the Conservatory of Music in Cincinnati, and I discovered I had a medical condition called multiple sclerosis. Of course, that's a neurological autoimmune condition where you lose control of your bodily functions. And the doctors don't know. I mean, it flows very differently in different people. So it wasn't possible to predict how soon or, when I'll be in the wheelchair, what have you. Still hasn't happened 20 years later, but at the time, the doctor's best advice was don't do anything stupid, but maybe playing violin is not the best thing to do. And so under those circumstances, I went back and started considering the world of money and investing and passive income and things of that nature, and just slowly ended up in real estate, talking to people, reading books, studying books. I want to give you a little bit of color on that. People tend to respond to my story as in, oh, it's such a, you've overcome such a traumatic this or that or the other. I had nothing to lose. I mean, here I am, a violinist. The doctors are telling me don't be stupid and don't do that. So I'm leaving nothing behind. Mm-hmm. Whereas take somebody else who's got a 6-figure career, out of college 3 years, reporting to the SEC on behalf of like a Fortune 500 company, and he decides to leave, and I'm describing my partner, he decides to leave that corporate career when he could climb all the way up to CFO. So, I think that takes more balls than what I did. I didn't have a choice. I wasn't leaving anything behind. So I went. It was an easy decision. But, wasn't so easy to figure out, what to do. But I needed to do something. Staying as it was, status quo, wasn't an option. So that's how I ended up in real estate. And again, I started with, did a few single family, figured out it didn't work so good, did multifamily, figured out it worked a lot better, eventually grew up and started buying apartment communities. And that's what I do now.
Beautiful. So kind of your entry, you mentioned the single family route. Before we kind of talk into the multifamily, because I got a whole bunch of questions there. People, we haven't covered specifically house hacking. Can you kind of describe what that is? Because that could be a good entryway for some investors. And some people like to go in where I just jumped into commercial. Some people like to kind of do that as an entryway or jumping off point. Maybe we could just talk about that for a bit.
It's not even so much of an entry. It's a tool in the tool bag. And it solves a particular problem that something else can't solve. So in my case, I lived in Ohio. And then 4 years ago, my wife and I decided we needed to move, and we took a year off and we traveled to North Carolina, the Research Triangle. We looked at Atlanta. We had a certain kind of a set of criteria that we needed to hit. Everything from how well real estate is doing to what the education is for the kids to what the medical policies are in terms of vaccination, to you name it. I mean, we had kind of a matrix that we had to discover. So Phoenix is what we settled on. So we arrived in Phoenix. We rented an apartment, and I started looking around. You can't beat real estate investor out of me. I can't. There's always got to be an angle. I always have to figure out a way how to make money with property, right? So I said, okay, well, let's do a typical house hack. Let's buy a fourplex. Let's buy a duplex. Well, move into one unit, have the other units pay for it, maybe make a little bit of money. Well, I discovered very quickly that in Phoenix, in order to be in the location that I wanted to be in, there's no such thing as a duplex. There's no such thing as a fourplex in this location. But what there is in Phoenix is this concept, and this is because it's a high growth market and because two different sets of people move here. People come here for work and people come here to retire. And when you put the two together, you have a situation like, hey, this young family is coming. His father has passed away. His mother is coming along with them. She wants to help out, but she doesn't want to be in the middle of it. So let's build a house whereby there is a little attached mother-in-law suite so that the mother can be there and help with the kids and be here retiring without being in the middle of that family life dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. So builders have figured out that because of the type of population growth that happens here, that this is a good solution. Well, when I figure that out, I figure, listen, I can take that mother-in-law suite and throw the thing on Airbnb and VRBO and HomeAway, And there's a bunch of benefits. It's much faster money. You can make more money without any kind of leases. So you never have to evict anybody. You don't have to, there's a lot of benefits to doing that way. So I bought myself a nice house. I bought a nice house with a pool in the backyard, nice granite everywhere, and travertine and, whatever. It's not like $1 million house, but it's a $500,000 house. It's a nice house. Okay, and it's got a little courtyard, and on the other side of the courtyard, you have this casita. So I went in there and put $10,000, $12,000 into it, built out a little kitchenette in the closet, threw the thing on Airbnb. And it doesn't quite pay my mortgage, but it comes close to paying my mortgage. Certainly pays more than 50% of my mortgage. So that was kind of my answer of there's really no downside to this. Because whenever it's not occupied, I can have my friends and family stay with me. If I ever need a place for my parents or whatever, I have it. And if it's occupied, it's making money, so my house isn't costing me nearly as much. So I'm literally living in this house paying less than I would if I was renting an apartment. And I have a great house with a pool and the whole 9 yards, right? So to me, when I looked around and I landed in this new place, and I knew I wanted to be here for a variety of reasons, I just didn't want to pay the mortgage, right? I sold a house in Ohio, and I said, okay, it was half the house. I want much bigger house, much better house, much nicer house. Having said that, I don't want to pay any more than what I paid in Ohio, because that's where I'm comfortable. Well, how do I do that? Well, here's this casita, they call it. ADU, mother-in-law suite, whatever, however you want to call it. And I rent it out, and it basically gets me to where I'm going. It solves a problem. This is what people don't understand about real estate. Real estate's not some kind of magic golden goose. Real estate is a set of tools and techniques that you can use to solve problems in life, to reach objectives in life, right? I have a portfolio in Ohio still. It solves one problem. I have, $50 million of syndicated real estate. That solves another kind of problem. I have a house hack. That solves another kind of problem. Why not? It's it's a set of tools that you apply however you need to in order to solve the problems that you need to solve. So at the time I was looking, we could do a BRRRR. We could move in and we could remodel while we were there, and we could flip the house in a couple of years. We could do that. I didn't want to live in a remodel. So at the end, I decided, no, I'm not interested in doing that. We could do a triplex, but that would require us to go into locations that I didn't want to go to, too far from schools, XYZ, too far from shopping. I didn't want to do that. So this was my version and the thing that's turned out to be very interesting, when you are in a market like this, that's extremely high growth and extremely high retirement market. When you're in a market like this, what happens is the better asset you buy, the better tenants you attract. So, I was like, listen, I'd rather spend more money to buy this house in a really nice neighborhood. And that's going to alleviate all kinds of headaches, because the quality of people I will get in this casita is just going to be pleasure to manage, and I'm not going to have any issues. Okay? And I never have to deal with any leases. I never have to deal with any evictions. I never have to deal with any of that jazz. And it makes 2 to 3 times as much money as if I would rent it on a 12-month lease. Okay, so I wrote a book about it because I thought it was fantastic, because it covers all the angles. Like, if I want to live here, then other people want to be here for the same reason. I'm no different from anybody else. I want nice things, and people coming through town who need a place to stay for a week, they want nice things. So if I get myself, the nicer things I get for myself, the easier it becomes to attract the kind of people that I want to attract in the first place. So it doesn't require a compromise. And that's the issue with house hacking as we know it, as it's propagated everywhere and bigger pockets of everywhere. That version of house hacking is, for young people, when you make a sacrifice, if you rent out a bedroom in your house, you have to put up with a stranger in your house. If you buy a duplex, you have to have a tenant next door that you may have to evict. Mm-hmm. And as these folks talk about house hacking in those terms, I'm not sure how many of them have ever evicted somebody. And I'm not sure that they're aware how nice of a time that can be if you have to do that. Well, I know this stuff. I've been doing this stuff since 2006. And so I wasn't interested in having a leased unit next to mine. I wasn't interested in having to share a wall with my neighbor. So in my house hack, I found, here's the house. It's like a horseshoe shape. There's a yard in between. I'm over here. They're over there. Mm. We're not sharing any walls. They have their entry. I have my entry. They don't bother me. The last person that was here for 3 nights, I never even saw them. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a little lockbox. They let themselves in. They're nice, reasonable, respectable people. I'm not trying to rent it for $30 a night and attract somebody whose last $30 I'm going to take. Mm. I rent it out for higher amounts for somebody who is, it makes more sense to be here than a hotel, but it still requires for you to be a reasonable, person with good credit and things like that. You see what I'm saying? So. Mm-hmm. So it's not a race to the bottom with me, okay? And my version, I call it luxury house hacking, because I literally have everything I could want in this house. There's no compromise on my end. And still, I'm able to house hack. So it's a different perspective on it.
I like that a lot, actually, because it eliminates a lot of the limiting beliefs where, someone is living in a place that they don't want to. They own a house and they want to, like you did, wanted to move to the place you want and raise your family and all of the regulatory and different things that you care about and your value system. You can be able to move there, find exactly what you want, and be able to work and attract more respectable tenants instead of having to, again, sacrifice. Because usually, when you hear about this business, it's more like, okay, well, you always got to work and grind in real estate business in order to make it to the top. And yours is like, look, you can have both. You can be able to make money, subsidize your living, and like I said, it's long term for you. So it's not like we're going to start here and then eventually we're going to go down to North Carolina at some point once we build up, a few of these things. So I like that a lot. And that will eliminate, say some of the problems for some people to say, nah, I won't be able to do it because I live in such and such neighborhood.
Well, but the whole premise of it, that you have to scale down your quality of life,
right? Yeah.
In order to control costs, it's stupid. Mm-hmm. I completely don't subscribe to that. I had a realization early on that goes like this: you can have anything you want as long as it makes money. Okay. I can afford $1 million house without having to have a house hack in it. The thing is, why? Mm-hmm. I mean, even if I do buy $1 million house, I'm still going to have a casita there and I'm still going to rent it out because it's so freaking easy to make that money. I don't see why you wouldn't do it. But I also don't see why you would have to scale down your expectation of your quality of life in order to do that. The whole point in all this is to improve your quality of life, not the other way around. I don't believe in being broke. I don't believe in having that attitude. There's abundance everywhere. If you can't figure out how to fucking make it work, it's your own problem. Mm-hmm. You see things too small.
Mm. Yeah, I love your mindset there. That's awesome. So, yeah, perfect. So it kind of segues into kind of your next business model of syndications and multifamily. You said that you have a very large portfolio. Is that nationwide? What's kind of like your investment criteria? What markets do you like? And then what are?
No, we're in Phoenix. We're in Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix. Okay.
Yeah, we're somewhat vertically integrated, which is to say we have in-house construction company that handles interior renovations. We buy these things. I mean, real estate is expensive in Phoenix because it's such a high growth market, because investors feel bullish on this market. It trades at a low cap rate. So, plus or minus easily, we pay $120,000 a unit, and we buy things that are about 100 units or more. So these are large projects, and we get in and we remodel the whole thing, and we increase the revenues $300 per unit on the average.
Is that for both is it more like workforce housing, is more kind of class B plus A ish?
Yeah, so this is very much workforce. This is very much class C. So what we do, what our business model is, hey, let's provide to that audience a product that they don't currently have. So here's the class A. It rents for $1,700 a month. So we want to be right here after renovation at $1,200 a month. But we also want to have granite. We want to have stainless. We want to have the washer and dryer. Yeah, we're not going to be brand new. We're not going to be completely brand new. But what we're offering to people is, yeah, you're going to have to pay $300 more than you do in this piece of shit over here next door. But you're getting class A finishing surfaces, 90% of it. But you are getting it at a huge discount, 30, 40% discount to what you would have to pay in Class A. So essentially, we go into a Class C neighborhood, and we say, okay, here's 150 units. Is there 150 people in this 2-mile radius who make enough money, have good enough credit, that they're willing to pay $200 or $300 more to live in this kind of unit? Because what happens in these neighborhoods is, if you grew up in this neighborhood, your grandparents live here, your parents live here, all your friends are here, your kids go to school here, you don't really want to leave. You could leave and drive to work for 40 minutes, but that's your choice. That's the choice you have. Like, if you are in one of those neighborhoods and you got 10-minute drive to work, now you have to decide, do I live in a piece of shit apartment, or do I move over here and drive to work for 40 minutes and lose all contact with my friends and things like that, but have a nice apartment in that other neighborhood, over there? What we do is we come in and we say, you don't have to make that choice anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to take this piece of shit apartment right here, and we're going to fix it. New cabinets, granite countertops, underhung sinks, stainless steel appliances, new flooring, new paint, new lighting, just nice, okay? And yes, you will need to pay a little more, but not anywhere near as much more as you would in new construction. And it's not for everyone in this location, but we don't want everyone, because here's 150 units in a 2-mile radius. We can do that. So that's the basic business model with what we do. And so far, we've been pretty successful with it.
Perfect. And then you said that you guys are vertically integrated. So you guys are the sponsor, raising the money, doing the work, everything. Or do you guys JV with others as well? Or you just got to do everything?
No, it's just us.
Nice. And then kind of how do you, structure your deals with, how are you guys getting like investors and stuff like that? I know that you have a long track record and like I said. So
it's always Reg D. I mean, it's either Reg D 506B or C. We raise capitals. It's basically a limited partnership from a legal point of view. But the paperwork is about $15,000, $20,000, depending on the size of the deal. But I've been around a long time. A lot of people know me, and in about 3 weeks, we're going to close on a property. And that's a small property. It's 94 units. And there's about $500,000 worth of people that want to get in that we don't have room for. It's oversubscribed. But that was a little over $4 million raise, not very large.
And then kind of like finding deals. I know since you guys are pretty well known in that marketplace, is it through brokers, or you guys are getting referrals from other owners since you guys are buying so much in that area?
Most of it is brokers, and most of it is pocket listings. The stuff that we've only bought one property that we competed for on market last year. But by the time you see it in your email, it's probably because I already turned it down.
That's good. So, you got the relationship. The relationship is very, very important.
Yeah, once you become known as somebody who can execute a purchase, the brokers are there to make money, and they know they'll be selling the property when you're done with it, and whenever that may be. So they want those relationships. So yeah.
So where you kind of focus, is it Phoenix,
Yeah.
Tucson, things like that? Oh, so those marketplaces, yeah, those are very
It's
strong
only
markets.
we're not in Tucson. We're not interested in Tucson.
Hmm.
We're strictly in Phoenix.
Okay, like Glendale and things like that.
We have one property in Glendale, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm very familiar with that little area there. So
We
are
have
you?
a property in Glendale, property in Mesa, property, you know where GCU is?
Yep.
Grand Canyon University. We have a property over there just like a half mile away. We have a property in the South Mountain region,
Hmm.
like right on baseline. Just basically everywhere. We're in West Valley, East Valley. We're kind of scattered all over the place, but we are local, which is what makes vertical integration a little more possible because, if you're going to have this many units in in one market, you can do construction yourself in that
Hmm.
market. You can do certain things that you couldn't do if you're sitting in California trying to buy in Phoenix. You can't run that kind of operation.
And as far as kind of like the future, I know you guys are in Arizona, and then you have your vertical integration there. Are you guys looking at some point in the future to venture out into other marketplaces, or you just want to kind of dominate Arizona?
Yeah, not even Arizona, Phoenix.
Hmm.
Not really interested in Tucson. There's just not enough economically going on in Tucson, and it's a little one-sided. I mean, there's a university, and then you got some military contracting, but by and large, it just rides the coattails of Phoenix. The place that really drives Arizona economy is Phoenix, and that's where we want to be. I think our competitive advantage is in the fact that we're here.
Hmm.
So my mindset on this, just like everything else, is very opportunistic. I don't need to run this business like in perpetuity. So what's going to happen is, of course, the cycles change. So when the cycle is such that I can't buy the same kind of property with the same kind of criteria, I have a choice. Either adopt a different perspective and adapt my techniques, okay, or stop buying. And I'm okay with either.
Mm.
And go out and buy a McDonald's franchise
Mm.
or something,
I like
I
that.
am okay either way with it.
Hmm.
So I see this as an opportunistic kind of play. And I see a window of opportunity right now, and I don't have visibility for maybe any more than 18 months. We'll see what happens. But I don't have no qualms. I make no qualms about, hey, if we can't be a buyer anymore and we decide not to hold long term, we'll cash out. Make plenty of money. We don't have to do anything
Mm. Nice, nice.
if we don't want to.
And then as of right now, you just strictly in multifamily, not in the other asset classes right now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I said, because we do Singleton, I do a lot of transactions in Phoenix, Glendale, and stuff like that. So I was just curious. Awesome. So, yeah, kind of, what are some tips? I know, like I said, you've grown from, being known for house hacking, but for other people that kind of want to take your similar steps, is there stuff that you learned on the way, mistakes or stuff that you can kind of say, hey, if I did this over again, I maybe do it differently, then I'd be more successful? Or I know that education goes along the way with experience, but is there some tips for some new investors listening on the call?
Um, if anything, I probably would have made the move from Ohio to Phoenix sooner. That's probably the greatest mistake I made. I could have been 2 or 3 years ahead. The only problem with saying that is that clearly I didn't make that move because I wasn't emotionally and intellectually ready to make that move. So it's easy to say, hey, but I don't know. What
Mm-hmm.
happened for a reason in exactly the way that it happened. Um, the, the, um, the skill that everybody needs to have is to recognize that you have to find a way to identify when you're trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. So for instance, you're on Bigger Pockets and you read Scott Trench's book, whom I like a lot. And you read the other guy, I can't remember, just came out, a book on house hacking. And you read those books and you say, oh, that's it. I'm going to go buy me a triplex in Glendale. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife is a realtor. And a lot of people through me on Bigger Pockets contact her. And they call her and say, we want a triplex in Gilbert. Or we want a triplex in Chandler. That doesn't exist.
Mm.
That's a square peg they're trying to shove into a round hole. So when faced with that situation 3 years ago, and by then I already had $1 million in property in Ohio, having been doing this since 2006. But having been faced with that situation, I recognized I need to shade the peg. Something about the peg needs to change because the hole is not there. It's over here and it looks different. So what I see a lot of people do is, because we listen to all the damn podcasts, frankly, okay, and everybody's got an opinion and they're like assholes, okay? Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
We're training a whole population of lemmings that all they know is here's a peg, here's a hole, as if real life just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the biggest advice I can offer to people, is that realize you don't know what you don't know, and what you do know comes from sources that I probably would think twice about trusting in the first place. Again, it was one of those benefits of me growing up in real estate before there was Bigger Pockets that helped me, because things were a lot more real, and your advice came from people who were around for a long time, and probably a lot of it, and it forced you to actually learn by doing instead of learn by reading.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah, that make a lot of sense, because like I said, before, where they didn't have much tools and access to things like that, you had to get out there and do it. And most of those guys, they said they're out there is from learning experience and failing and trying different things to make sure it worked. Compared to now, it's just like kind of just, you can Google anything, you can get any information on anything, and then it's just so much access. So it's kind of like diluting the people a little bit too. So it's like kind of babying it.
And the challenge is nowadays, somebody does 2 single family deals and they think they've cracked the code, and they go and start offering advice. And, what can I say? But it's out there. It's free speech. Good for them. They at least did 2 deals. Fantastic. It's just there's no filter between what they know and what they don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, very well said, and very good advice. Yeah, I really appreciate that and resonate that with a lot. But to kind of learn a little bit more about you, what's kind of like a typical day? I know that said you're, work with the company and, work with investors and education and stuff like that. What's kind of a typical day, and do you have any special morning routines?
No, and I don't believe in them. Actually, it's funny. This is the second time I'm talking about it in the last week. I don't know how that came up last time. I can't remember how it came up, but mindset books have become such a thing. Like, we need to convince ourselves that we are smart and we're wise and we deserve it, and that we're going to work hard. And we keep reading, I love Zig Ziglar, but that kind of stuff. We just keep reading. I think that's such bullshit. If you don't know why you got to do what you got to do, you got bigger problems. Why, why is that even a thing? Why are we even reading these? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Now, as far as routines are concerned, I take appointments that I need to take. Done. The rest of my life belongs to me. I take my kid to school in the morning. Most mornings. Today, my wife alone took my kid to school. Usually we do it together. But aside for that, I take my appointments at my assets. check out on the construction scope, whatever have you. My partner does now most of that, but in the beginning, when we're launching a new project, we're there more often.
Mm-hmm.
But aside for that, I don't have a routine. I don't have a job. I mean, I do have a job because running this portfolio is a job, but it's not a punch your clock job kind of thing. So I don't believe in routines. I don't function any better by having a routine. I'm a violinist. I'm creative. Like when it hits me to write an article about something because there's value in it, I'll sit down and write an article about something, and some other shit can wait. When I'm solving a problem and I have to set up an appointment to do it, I'll do it, and then the article can wait. I get things. I'm not well organized at all. This is why Sam, my partner, extraordinarily well organized, which you absolutely need. Okay. And in my family, my wife is extraordinarily well organized. You could say I'm spoiled, but by the results, this is just the way I function. It's the way my brain is wired. I just don't believe in a schedule. Things are going to germinate for however long they need to germinate. They're going to take however long they need to take. And that's that.
Yeah, I like your approach because, like I said, it's a little bit different, and it works for you. And like I said, you have organized people around you to make everything work. And like I said, you're very creative. So yeah, I like that a lot. Kind of to end things, how do we get in touch with you? Like your company, or do you have anything that ways to reach you?
Ben at justaskbenwhy.com.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to get that in the show notes. Ben, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Like I said, I haven't talked to many people out there in the Phoenix market and learn a little bit more about that, kind of learn your whole process, your mindset and everything. Really appreciate you taking time and look forward to connect with you again soon.
It's my pleasure.
All right, take care, my friend. Absolutely.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at DwaineLClarke.com, as well as find us on Facebook for more useful content and resources.